parents come with, he always talk back and he's arguing, and suddenly he has anger, and then the teacher is calling me, and then the sibling they're fighting, so and then he cannot sleep at nighttime.
Oh,
so
gosh.
he's a picky eater. When you look at that symptom, it's very common, by the way. It's almost common. When you look at that, the reason why our amazing psychiatrists, psychologists cannot address those, their discipline addresses not everything all at the same time.
Right.
So, but when you look at those individual, we call it 6 domains, which is a proprietary assessment. The brain is a brain code assessment. Cognition, which is a thinking, executive, planning, follow through, understand the instructions. Emotional component, confidence,
right,
and fear, and anxiety, worry, right? The third one is communication, constantly interrupting it, or blurt out, argue all the time. The other one is behavior.
Right.
They learned how to trick their parents. The next one, sensory motor.
Oh, yeah.
They cannot tolerate this label. Okay? And then they cannot tolerate this. And that smell, that sound, and then that noise, and then that brightness.
Wow.
So sensory is more bodily embedded.
Okay.
That's best to approach more with the naturopathic method.
Wow.
Psychology is neurophysiological. That's more inherited. So once we understand these 6 domains, then we can be quick with who will be making the fastest, best change soonest, and how do you measure?
Here we are. We made it.
We made it.
Thank you so much for having us here, and the long setup that it took. And I'm very excited for this. So for those of you tuning in, and since this is the first time that you've been on the show, the Mental Health Show with Robert Grigore, I'm your host, Robert Grigore. And the purpose of the show is to destigmatize mental health, to break down some barriers. Well, there's so much noise out there in the world. There's all these different things that, what people can do, what they need, and it just gets very confusing, overwhelming. We're trying to help people find the clarity through all the chaos. And we have some incredible guests on the show, and you're one of them. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me here.
I'm going to read out some of the things that I've able to find about your bio. So first of all, you're the founder and the owner of ADHD Breakthrough. 2 clinics, one in Vancouver, where we are right now, and one in Langley. From what I was able to gather from your bio and our pre-interview, that there's a story which we'll get into, but you've been inspired to create this center and to do this work. So you have a multidisciplinary team, which is very exciting. And I looked like on the website that there's registered clinical counselors that you have on the team, psychologists, neurofeedback, neurotherapists, and nutritionists. And you showed me some really cool machines in the other room. You have such a holistic approach, which I think is really, we hear that word tossed around a lot, you know, but I think it's important, especially with the line of work that you do, that it is a whole person and it's not just a diagnosis. So you also serve not just families here in Vancouver or in Langley, but you also, or in the Lower Mainland, but you also serve people across the world. And I'm hoping that, families that tune in, they'll be able to, take a glimpse from this episode. Maybe they'll get a few pointers here, but they'll be able to navigate some of the challenges that come with neurodivergence with some more hope, some more clarity, and hopefully some more tools. So, Dr. Oh, thank you for being on the show.
Again, so what you just said really hit my heart, that stigma. In this generation, we still see a lot of clients that I hope my son is not ADHD, and they just want to hide as much as possible.
Right.
And that is because it's not about like condition. It's almost like a cancer.
Right. It's a terminal thing. Oh my God, they have ADHD. Right. Yeah.
It is functionality. Just like sometimes we have a really good strong arm. Sometimes we want to strengthen the arm. Sometimes we can have maybe twist the ankle, then we just need a rehabilitation.
Right.
But there is a way we can identify the issues and strengthen it. It's not a disability or disease. So you are working on the whole mental health, not about just ADHD, but whole mental health, and working on more clarity and get some the path and idea, and also reduce some stigma. I think that's very, very valuable work. I really appreciate what you do.
Really well. This is an interview that's meant to happen, right? You're reducing stigma and helping with clarity, and this seems like the right show. This is a very special interview because you don't do a lot of these interviews, and of course you're going to be nervous, but you're doing this anyway because of that. So thank you for your courage. And I feel very special. I think that hopefully people watching and tuning in also feel that it's a special interview because you did say yes to this. So thank you for being here. Okay, let's get into a little bit the history and the story as to why and how you created ADHD Breakthrough. So obviously, as mentioned, you have 2 clinics, one in Vancouver, one in Langley, and then you see clients all over the world. What inspired you to develop this clinic?
So first of all, the beginning is I've been studying medicine since 2001 and 2, and I opened my clinic in Vancouver 2005. So I've been practicing for 20 years. And then starting as a biofeedback practitioner. And later I added more disciplines. And finally completing my registered clinical counseling actually next year. So it's kind of one at a time. But starting from the trauma and attention, that is the reason why I got into the biofeedback practitioner, because it had a direct influence on the head. So our whole family is influenced, including my parents. Likely they didn't have official diagnosis.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure that
if it runs in the family.
I have severe ADHD, which wasn't diagnosed until later in my life. And then later I found my son also had severe ADHD. So anyone who is watching this interview, and if you're suspicious or you already know that your children have ADHD or not, you know what it takes. Even simply going to shopping mall and try to regulate your child is very, very challenging. So my 2005, it was a beginning point of I gotta have some control in life for myself, and then everything is starting from that point on. So that's a beginning point.
Yeah, and I think I read on your website that you did everything, and I think that you even said like you had really great clinicians and they were all good, but it was really confusing.
Yeah,
like it's hard to hold it all together, and there was no clarity. So I'm sure that kind of fed into your desire to have everything in kind of one place.
Almost like I myself personally went through a lot of healing journey, because since I was a little, like my parents, I'm blessed with devout parents. They were just wondering why I was so up and down. And I was good with academic performance, but it was difficult to predict where my mental or where my cognitive function will be, like attention, concentration, and sudden extreme anxiety, and the sudden extreme procrastination. It was unpredictable, and they put me through psychologists and counseling because they thought it was mental health. It was not exactly mental health. ADHD is brain-based cognitive performance. So it is not about just anxiety or depression. It's brain is not working as it's supposed to be. Attention can be hyper, and then the next moment it can be gone. And then get into like sleep and all of those. So I had a lot of healing journey. I believe I became a better person with each step of my life. But when it really hit my life really hard is my son. I'm going to share a little bit about my son because he's adult and then I have a privacy matter. But it was I saw something was going on since he was little, and then he was diagnosed with ADHD when he was 8 by well-known psychiatrist in West Vancouver. And then that's a beginning point. And then I was really hopeful with the psychiatrist. I tried medication, didn't work. And then she recommended psychologists. Of course, I went through all that. And then I lived in Surrey, and then they were near Horse Bay. Now, anyone who know BC, then you know what is the distance, especially with the traffic jam.
Yeah.
And then it was not enough, and then recommended education. And then we went through neuropsych education in Langley. So, and then was working with specialist naturopaths. So, getting into about 4 or 5 discipline specialists who I still have great respect for them. They did their best, but after about 2 years of this journey, just to figure out, just to working with them, I was already a medical professional. Was it difficult to make concierge of different disciplines? And they didn't work together, by the way. At a certain time, they were contradicting each other. And then they were holding their stand, but then I need to make decision who I need to follow through. Oh. So that was extremely traumatic. During that time, I developed autoimmune disorder from pure exhaustion.
Oh, wow.
What was worst is my son didn't improve.
Oh, after all of that, yes.
And they are still the best of in their field.
Right.
But what it didn't happen at the time was brain hardware assessment, because there's psychiatric assessment, psychology assessment, neuroeducational assessment, blood work, naturopathic assessment. There was no hardware of the brain assessment.
Wow.
There was a traumatic experience because my son, we were not able to help my son at that moment. And then we had some family crisis involved with many, and my son went to Korea. I was in Vancouver, and my son, his father was in Korea.
Okay.
He went to Korea and joined his father.
Okay.
There was no effective care ever since. So I wasn't able to help my son as much as I know that I could at the moment. But we have a good relationship. He became a beautiful young man. Yeah. But then after my son left, my brain was stuck with my hypertension, with ADHD and a little bit spectrum.
Right.
It was stuck after the point that what didn't work then, because I absolutely believed in, and this profession is still the best of the best.
Right.
And
Right.
And then I spend my time like 15 hours on driving every week. And why it wasn't working.
Right.
And then my search began. Frustration was where my son was. And what was the process? What was wrong with my son? And I got some hint from the psychologist, psychiatry, all of those, but kind of idea is maybe it was hardware, because it's not just mental health, right?
Right.
That's when I got the answer mostly from the European clinic.
Okay.
And then I got heavy-duty training from Europe.
Okay.
Bergen, Norway, Bergen mostly, and South Africa, Cape Town, and Hungary, Budapest. So I was traveling worldwide, and I got the practicum.
Okay.
I sold my house to do this, by the way.
Oh my gosh.
Just to learn, because each trip is like $15,000. But I was obsessed with and I was seeing some idea, possibly, maybe.
Right.
So I got one machine at a time, and tried this one machine at a time. And later I realized that there is a way to assess the hardware itself.
Wow.
So there are many ways to assess the hardware.
Yeah.
And then when you combine assessing the hardware, then we can actually see that why this brain cannot focus, why this brain is so out of control, hyperactivity, why this brain cannot make decision. Very common with ADHD children. And counseling is absolutely one of the core that I believe in.
Okay.
Because mental health is important.
Yeah.
But then that's how I learned and combine all, and then because I cannot become expert in every field.
Right. Of course.
I got each individual, and then they work together. I guess that is a unique. I'm making something new. I believe we have a very unique center in combining all these clinicians working together because of my pain point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I still have flashbacks. You know what? You counselor, right?
Of course.
I still have flashbacks of certain locations whenever I drive.
Yeah.
I have flashbacks of that because my son was sitting there and I was driving, and I was so hopeful that today
something was going to work.
Something has to happen today.
Yes.
Because I'm getting the call from the school.
Right.
And I start having a little fear for the phone rings. Then I couldn't pick up the call because it's from school, right?
Wow.
I drop everything. I had to go to school because my son.
Well, as a professional, and I know that, all the people that are tuning in that they might have a child with ADHD, or maybe they're ADHD themselves, they can probably relate. Maybe we can you give a broad overview as to some of the symptoms that somebody with ADHD might have? Because I'm sure that somebody tuning in is going to go, that's me, or that's my son or my daughter, and I think this is going to give them some hope. So what can people look at for ADHD symptoms?
Everybody has ADHD symptoms. The common symptoms can be coming from parents. You can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Like when there is most psychometrics, you go by, is it more severe than average? Because we cannot really count how many times it's out of ordinary this behavior, right? So if you feel like your children is like, this is my typical average, more than average, more severe than average, they cannot sit still more than like few minutes. They start something, they cannot finish. Mm-hmm. They cannot start. It's so difficult for them to start. Procrastination, extreme. It's not about just hyperactivity, procrastination. That's part of the inattention. Sometimes it's difficult to measure like inattention. Hyperactivity is common. It easily can be picked up because they are all over the map. And kindergarten teachers, they notice. But what is also kind of underlying is typically procrastination is what you want to really watch for. If it's getting worse over time, that is when you consider seeing counselor first. If you look for the psychologist for the official diagnosis, probably that can go into a really long route, long waiting list, and likely can go into like $3,000-4,000 easily. But counselor, they can also do a psychometric assessment and find out the degree of the assessment. That's where I want to usually recommend. Okay. So procrastination and is one of those. Hyperactivity is very, very common.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. So I think probably, people that are tuning in, I think probably they're going to go, oh, that sounds familiar. And I'll share this as well, too, that our son, he's 6, love him like crazy. Yeah. And I'm fairly certain that he's got some ADHD symptom, not really far on the spectrum, but certainly he can be bouncing off the walls. He can be doing 5 things at once. And we're like, are you really listening to? And he can, he listened, he heard.
6 years old, right?
6 years old. Yeah.
Okay,
right.
Okay.
So it's and I guess partially I'm gonna interview you too to find out some information for my son possibly too. So maybe he'll become a client. But I'm curious for those that are coming to the clinic for the very first time. What could they be expecting? Like, what would they get when they first come to ADHD Breakthrough?
The first thing is that we need to have intake compilation. Okay. So we need to get the history.
Of course.
And we also need to check what is the degree of the problem.
Okay.
Sometimes parents are sure that ADHD, but often it is communication.
Oh, yeah.
Parents and children communication.
Gotcha.
So our experts need to have some initial assessment, and after the assessment, we get some idea. Okay. So if a client, our client already went through some of the counseling and they just want to see more hardware. There are a few different ways to measure the hardware. It's not about just neurofeedback. There are brain chemistries like dopamine, serotonin, those responses we can also measure that too. And we also have a gut-brain connection, nerve system, we can measure that too. And the neurofeedback is the brain waves. We can measure, there are multiple ways to measure brain waves too. Regardless what you want to do, we need to have some compilation. That's what's happening. So that we can have a clinical context.
Yes.
And then determine what path you want to pursue based on what is the most severe issue right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if and this might not be how it works, but I'm sort of seeing that you've got these categories, right? You've got like your neurochemistry, the serotonin, dopamine levels. So you've got that component. You've got your brain waves. You've got your nutrition. You've got your behavioral assessments. You've got all these different pieces, which used to be all over the place, right? But now you have it in this one, clinic. Am I hearing you right saying that you're going to help the parents and the child to determine where is sort of the most critical for them to focus on? Like if you've got 5 areas and one is really extreme, that's sort of where you're going to focus most of the attention?
When I was working with my son, it's funny because personally I suffered greatly, and I believe my parents suffered with me.
Yeah.
But I don't really remember anymore. After once I'm done, I'm overcome. It doesn't really bother me.
Okay.
But when I went through my son, I saw my son losing hope, and when my son looked depressed after the amazing session to me, those are the moment. It's kind of almost ingrained in my head. Yeah. What was the biggest pain point during that time was his clinicians were talking about many things, mind, psychology, the other issues were learning patterns and all of those. What was the difficulty is exactly what is the biggest concern what are we tackling on now? Okay, so how do I'm making intelligent question now, even to my clients, what is the biggest thing that you want to see the improvement? Because parents come with, he always talk back and he's arguing, and suddenly he has anger, and the teacher is calling me, and then the sibling they're fighting, so and then he cannot sleep at nighttime.
Gosh.
He's a picky eater. When you look at that symptom, it's very common by the way. It's almost common. When you look at that, the reason why our amazing psychiatrists, psychologists cannot address those, their discipline addresses not everything all at the same time. So, but when you look at those individual, we call it 6 domains, which is a proprietary assessment. The brain is a brain code assessment. 6 domain is analyzing what is actually the purely most cognition, which is thinking, executive, planning, follow through, understand the instructions, right? Those kind of things.
Yes. Yep.
What are the more emotional component? Confidence.
Right.
And fear. And anxiety. Worry, right? And also and then the third one is communication. That's another domain that what is what communication is functional, or constantly interrupting it, or block out, argue all the time, right? So those are communicate, or has ability to listen.
Wow.
Communicate. The other one is behavior.
Right.
So sometimes they know they want to do it this way. That's behavior.
I'm laughing because of my son's kindergarten experience. Okay,
So if you want to take a quick look at this, the domains is even the boredom-wise, ADHD, there is very painful. They don't have boredom handling capacity. They just don't know. More severe than any children. That's another indicator. So boredom handling, like they cannot focus. And they get bored because their brain is battery is already dead. Okay, the brain crashed.
Right.
They cannot focus on this subject anymore, and then they get bored. If you look at the brain base, that's cognitive. But then they learned how to get away with that with parents. I cannot do that because too difficult, and then it can be learned behavior because they want to get away with this. They learned how to trick their parents.
Oh, man.
That's a behavior. But sometimes it goes into like, I will fail. No matter what I do, I'll fail. So I won't do the procrastination. Then I get bored. That's emotional psychology.
Yes.
So as simple as boredom, based on what's the biggest concern, there are different approach. If we just wanna, you can get better just do the executive function, the plan, right? But then the biggest concern is psychology. I cannot do that. Like it's called the learned helplessness. No matter what I'll do, I won't be able to make it.
Right.
Then that's not the best approach. So based on what we evaluate, whatever is a higher point, that's what we address.
Wow.
The behavior is one of the things because sometimes behavior that's more responsibility. You already know. You already know what is right. Sometimes they can mimic it, certain symptom, then they can get away with that. The children, right?
Right.
They learn how to manipulate.
Yes.
Something, especially when you're sympathetic about the ADHD. So
They're smart.
those are the things that, but you already know that you
Yes.
can do it. That's
Okay.
behavior. The
Okay.
next one, sensory motor.
Oh, yeah.
They cannot tolerate this label. Okay? And then they cannot tolerate this. And that smell, that sound, and then that noise, and then that brightness.
Wow.
So sensory is more bodily embedded.
Okay.
That's best to approach more with the naturopathic method.
Wow.
So because if you try to approach it with the counseling, it takes a really long time. The idea here is walk a bit faster based on what you see.
Makes
The
sense.
final is neurophysiological. That's more inherited.
Okay.
If there are history for mental health disorder, then often it goes a little bit deep into. So that's something else.
Okay.
But it's also important to know. It's a little different from sensory motor. So once we understand these 6 domains, then we can be quick with who will be making the fastest, best change soonest, and how do you measure?
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm taking it in what you said, and I think our clinic, we have a very similar model that we try to have the results come as quickly as possible, because for the main reason is that people are suffering, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like what you described. Your I think you probably gave us just a taste of what you went through for all of those years, and I think that most people, when they are trying to manage or live with their child who is displaying some of these symptoms, and I think that the symptoms are on a spectrum too, right? There's some extreme symptoms, and there's going to kind of vary a little bit. I'm a therapist, and I know better, and I'm still, as a parent, I get overwhelmed sometimes, and I find myself exploding out of my window of tolerance because of my son's behavior, and I'll blurt out things like, like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, how did I say that? I can't believe I just said, oh my God, why did I? And then I try to repair it, but it comes out. And these are the stories that kids hear. And I also hear you saying that they'll, over time, they'll create their own belief systems out of how they've managed to live within this, right? Because let's face it, we're still in a pretty neurotypical society, right? There's, unless they go to an alternative school, for example, I think all the schools are still pretty much the same, right? The teacher stands up at the front. You've got so long for certain tasks. They walk up and down, and they test, and it's all kind of the same. And if these children have learned how to mask, right? How to pretend like they're neurotypical,
masking,
and they've gotten by, but the meantime they're also picking up these beliefs like, I'm going to fail, there's something wrong with me, I'm not good enough, I'm broken, right? I have to do all the 10, 15 years of tests all over the place. Is going to, how could you not create a belief system like there's something seriously defective in some way, right? Which is really painful, to feel for the kid. And then as a parent, oh my gosh, the powerlessness that a parent would feel, the helplessness, you're acting, you're going to all these different, the best of the best, people out there, and you're still not seeing the results. It's got to be so defeating and so helpless.
You just summarized the biggest pain point. Most people think the attention deficit hyperactive disorder,
Right.
the biggest concern is attention hyperactivity.
Right.
It is secondary concern later on. That's more biggest concern on the earlier on. They are more 5 or 6 or 7-ish. But once they become kind of 8 and 9 and 10 and more, what I just said is helpless. It's called the learned helplessness.
Right.
Learned helpless because what they're getting is that the harder I try, the worse it gets. Because
Right.
the harder I try, the worse I get disappointment.
Oh.
And they feel the harder I try, it was not going to happen anyway. And so I won't remember. I cannot focus. My teacher is looking at me. And then the friends are giving me an eye. And then my parents are like, doing this. And then once they get those feedback from autism, the same, autism and ADHD, the parents also feel learned helplessness. And children feel learned helplessness. This learned helplessness is becoming the number one concern because then they won't try.
Right.
So until they're like 6 or 7 and 8, this are ideal, this is wonderful age. Because at this point, they don't have a confirmed belief and opinion.
Okay.
They don't have firm opinion or set path to interpretation, the lens to the world. About 10 to 13-ish, puberty is becoming a little more difficult, but still they don't have a firm set lens to the world. They get stressed, but they don't have structured opinion about what it is, how they want to do. Set path.
Right.
They just are angry just because they are angry.
Right.
They will procrastinate just because they want to procrastinate. But then there's no rational system there. After 13 to 16-ish, this is a very, very difficult age because this is where parents lose their influence.
Wow. Yes.
So they are picking up whatever influence they want to do, but generally this age with genuine ADHD, they learn how to procrastinate, how to avoid.
Wow.
It's a very common symptom. Anyone who has autism the same, they start structure, systemically avoid things. If this setting after 16 and 18, it becomes very difficult.
Wow.
The way how they sleep hours and the way how they have structured systemic avoidance setting in. One of the worst case, I have to say this, is if the coping, they choose some coping to procrastinate.
Right.
One of the coping is a digital game, and the parent didn't have awareness how to monitor and have some control. It can be really, really disastrous because the 14 to 16, 13 is where they kind of have a certain coping setting. Especially ADHD, this brain it's not about just inattention, it's a hyperfocus. And they learned systemically to put their brain into avoid things so that because they have a learned helplessness, and using digital game, it's really making it worse. Often we have this symptom with the digital addiction with ADHD after 16. I can say that we didn't have a lot of success with that case. Digital addiction. I'm praying, I'm begging, and this is really dangerous. If you think that your child may have ADHD, you really pay attention to digital addiction. Even with our care, we have 16 top clinicians, neurofeedback, naturopaths, nutrition, psychologists, counselor. You may work with us, but if you don't control digital addiction, you have a very little chance to make a big success.
You're highlighting the importance of early intervention.
Early intervention.
Right?
Thank you.
And I think as from our line of work as counselors and social workers, and I focus quite a lot on trauma. I'm a trauma therapist through and through. That's why I see nervous systems. I see people as nervous systems and not really people anymore. I'm just kidding. But I'm so aware of where we're at. And I work with addictions. A lot of my team members work with addictions, and we see a lot of digital addictions, right? Video games, pornography, could be a lot of different things, TV or binge watching, and that's like it's like once in a while it's okay, it's used, it's fine, but it's sort of at the point where any addiction, from the way that I've been used to looking at addiction, is that the nervous system is overwhelmed to the point where it feels like it can't handle it. And then I reach for whatever this particular lever is, and if it's a video game or any other addiction could work too, right? Alcohol, drugs, it's all kind of the same. But you pull on this like lever, and instantly I feel better. You said some key highlighted age ranges where parents lose some influence around 10 or 12. Like at this point, kids are starting to spend a lot more time at school. They might be going over to other families for dinner, or hanging out and playing at Jimmy's house down the street, right? And they start to see how other parents handle things, and they start to have different rules, and it creates a little bit of a loss for the parent, right? They kind of, I think they lose a bit more control. And then, as you said, like 15, 16, 17 years old, the primary goal is not education, I'm afraid, but it's more social, like, connection, right? And growing amongst your peers. So if we're not doing that stuff because we're playing video games, and I don't know, does online video game chats, like where they're playing Halo or something and they're talking to their friends, does that count as social interaction? I'm not sure. Maybe it does.
Difficult age, which never existed in human history. It's no wonder the EMDR, your EMDR specialist, that's making such a big difference. Someone normalizing the eye movement, right?
Yes.
Look at the eye movement. So
yes.
the problem with that is, especially with the ADHD, early intervention, autism also, intervention is extremely important because the tendency is already procrastination, avoidance.
Yes.
Avoidance is a very common feature. It's inattentive type or combined type or hyperactivity. It doesn't matter. Most ADHD or neurodivergent children procrastinate.
Oh, that's good to know.
That's one of the core. So when they have this learned helplessness because of the negative feedback, teacher, notify, call parents, and then you're hyper, and can you just calm down, and you are just stay out. So negative feedback received and the learned helplessness, no matter what I do, it is not going to work, setting in, they use this tendency of procrastination into more pretty intense way. What is concerning after the puberty is they often don't want to get better. So you, counselor, after 14, 16, parents force them to come to the treatment.
Wow.
They don't want to be in the other place, especially genuine ADHD, autism, they don't like changes. So if there's something interesting, hyperactivity, they can be a little more easier to jump to something new idea.
Right.
But inattention or autism, they usually don't extreme resistance to any changes.
Okay.
So even the healing is considered as a change. Extreme resistance, especially they are becoming more, mature, minor, and then the adult, right?
Yes.
And hyperactivity, they don't like to change it, the path they already have set. So no matter how parents want to help, and the clinician, no matter how great the clinicians are, if children start seeing that there's no need to change, I'm happy where I am. We have a lot of clients. Wow. I'm happy where I am. You have a limit to the treatment.
Okay.
So until puberty, there's no set path like that, because before puberty, they care about what you think, parents. They want to get praise from parents. They care about their teacher.
Right.
They want to get praise. They want to do better.
Right.
And they want to get good feedback. After puberty, it kind of losing the power. It didn't matter so much to them anymore.
Wow.
So that is one of the big barrier. Okay. They don't want to get better because that change doesn't matter to them anymore. They feel comfortable where they are. That's devastating.
Really, I think at that point, really, it has to be their choice at some point if they want to. Because I know from therapy, like mandating a client to go into therapy is not, usually beneficial, right? They don't usually respond that way when you're forcing somebody to have to get this sort of help. So I guess the takeaway from that little segment is the early intervention. The earlier, the better. Do parents have to get a diagnosis of ADHD or ADD or anything like that before coming to see you?
Diagnosis is mostly for autism funding or any increased accessibility from a school.
Okay.
Getting some extra treatment, maybe a school assistant, something like that. Then you do need an official diagnosis.
Okay.
Most of our clients, we get the provisional diagnosis.
Okay.
So we have enough psychometrics to understand what are the key concerns.
Okay.
And then work on the one thing at a time.
Okay.
As I said, we also do 6 domains.
Yeah.
That
right.
is cognitive. Is it really thinking? Or is it something for psychological, like a lack of self-esteem or fear or anxiety or sadness? Is there something going in the heart?
Okay.
If that's one of the core, then we actually need to make them feel better first before we are making them do homework. Okay,
Right.
That's not a concern until they feel happier.
Right.
Or they have a really poor communication. They don't know how to communicate.
Yes.
So sometimes it happens. Then we also help them to have this is a proper communication. You listen, okay? Wait for a few seconds. You acknowledge, and then you don't intrude. And so there are, or sometimes there can be some health issues.
Yes.
Health is like a really low iron, right?
Oh yeah.
Or
I've
it can
heard of
be
that.
like diarrhea all the time, like severe allergies. Then it's the body inflammation is on fire. Then you want to kind of calm them down first.
Wow.
If they also have a extremely hyper, they can have sleep. Then there are a few simple naturopathic remedies can calm their nerve system. So that can be done within a couple of weeks, within 1 week.
Amazing.
Yeah. So then it doesn't need to go through 2-3 months for the. So once sleep is better, digestion is better, then counseling works effectively because the body doesn't burn up all the serotonin and dopamine. So based on what is the key issues, that is the reason why we've been discussing this actually today. We are not doing marriage counseling.
Right.
We are not so much doing the trauma counseling,
Right.
Gender counseling. So we only do autism, ADHD.
Yes.
Children. So we're very, very narrow because it's already full plate because there are so many things that we need to take a look and assess.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think that, with your narrow focus, which is a good thing, and I think it's leading me into asking you about your VIP program. So can you talk a little bit about, because this is it's already unique as it is, but then you have this VIP intensive program. Talk to me a little bit about that. Tell me about that.
I never actually discussed it in public ever. So what we do here is we have had it for over 15 years.
Wow.
It is purely from just word of mouth. Doing the 6 domain assessment, it takes about 13 hours.
Wow, okay.
And then what they do is they do our whole body assessment so that we can check their brain chemistry, like happy hormone or motivation hormone and a gut lining and some an energy hormone because sometimes children get really tired. So they get the whole body assessment. And also they have a brain wave assessment to check the attention span, the brain battery is enough to have a sustained attention, and they can shift state. We have those kind of assessment.
Wow.
And then, as I said, those 6 domain alone is about 13 hours. So they do all the assessment, and they work with our psychologists and some counselor, and working with me. Naturopath nutrition, so whole family change is happening. So we do that. We have currently we have no availability because we can only help 9 VIP program per month. There's no, so somebody needs to graduate.
Okay.
And then until there's opening.
Okay.
So there is involvement is mostly all one-on-one care. There's no group goals. So parental counseling, the child counseling and health the assessment. So that's whole the package. If a client can get in for this 1 year, we can actually set up a lot of different paths.
Wow.
For the food part and the health part. Hormone is okay, health is okay, and the mind, the psychology, and the brain is okay. So we can actually map out those. It's called the brain code. Map out, and individual experts are helping those. And in a way that it's easy path because so the family has certain life obligation, right? School, so that we need to organize in a way that's working for the parents.
Right.
So we have a VIP program because they're working with Clients are working with many of our clinicians, more intense management, but more easier for the family so that we can organize kind of easy management.
Okay.
And then later we tell them that this is how you manage.
Gotcha.
And then everything is all organized. It's easy to carry on.
Oh.
So this is actually the first time being discussing this in about 20 years, actually. Yes.
I'm feeling very excited that we got to be your first marketing maybe on this, and so I also got really excited for a second there, and a little discouraged when you said that there's not that many spots and you have to wait. So obviously there's a wait list. So I think maybe
there's a wait list. We have currently 16 clinicians.
Okay.
In about 12 clinicians in Canada, and 17 clinicians in the United States, Latin America, and some Asia and the UK, because it's not easy to get genuine ADHD experts, especially neuro experts.
Right.
So we are aiming to get and train more neuro experts, about 10. So next year will be about 25 clinicians that we have a little opening, but it's a slow process.
Okay.
So VIP program is there. The wait list is available.
yeah. I love that it's obviously tailored to the client, and sometimes we work with people at really intense format, 6 hours every day for 2, 3, 4 days, sometimes in a row. It's really a lot. Not everybody qualifies for that, and it takes a lot of training to get a clinician to be ready for that. Anyway, but that's a side note. But I'm saying that because I really appreciate the amount of focus and effort that it takes to create something like that and to have it as an offering. So I think that's really exciting. So I'm going to probably email you every couple of months and say, hey, how are those clinicians coming? Any more spaces available? And
VIP program is definitely limited because we need to have so many hours of the clinicians. Currently, we have an opening for our ADHD counselor to assess ADHD and autism also too. Neurofeedback, we have about 3 spots available, but our clients graduate after so many months.
Right.
So if you're interested, you can contact, and we can put you on the wait list. Counseling, we have some availability. So, but AJ said, if you need digital addiction or family counseling, and also the couple counseling, then please contact Rob, because we just serve the children and parenting. So parenting and children, yes.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I know that there's definitely a way that we as clinic owners, there's a way for us all to really work well together. Well, I think we'll dive into that a bit more. How do all of the team members because you've got the counselors, you've got the nutritionists and the psychologists, you've got the neurofeedback providers, and how do you sit down all together and talk about all the cases, or do you? How do you work? How do you keep it cohesive? Is I guess what I'm trying to ask you. How does it stay cohesive?
Really good question, and that question comes from the clinical practice.
Yes.
Most clients don't understand this part. So that merging and the different disciplines, even the same discipline working together, sharing the clients, is very difficult. First is we have a tons of the consent form to share the information. That's number one.
Right.
Because confidentiality.
Right.
The way how I structured my clinic, I haven't found any clinic like this in the world. And I have clinic advisors like Dr. Brown, who is 40 years, just retired dean of the university, the psychology university. And he hasn't seen like this before. And I have many clinic advisors. They haven't seen this kind of clinic before. The reason is I'm understanding more now is it is impossibly difficult to connect all the dots. What's happening here is a clinic director, myself, is having the meeting with each clinician. Mm-hmm. So otherwise, if we need to get together all at the same time, let's say naturopath, nutrition, then planning in advance is very difficult. Literally, the clinic need to pay that time no matter what.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
so that alone can be, I don't know how many tens of $1,000s.
A lot, yes.
So Our psychologist is like a three to 400 USD. So USD. So
Yeah.
and a neurotherapist is much more than that because they have a license and plus about 5 to 10 years experience with the neuro.
Oh,
So the one of the top notch. That's the reason why we have a clinician worldwide, because we have a very rigorous examination.
right.
Many of our clinicians working with the counselor or naturopath or counselor or neuro coach, which is neurofeedback, then there has to be some way to join them so that our clients don't suffer as I did,
Yeah.
right? Because they go into different direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
So somebody need to understand all of them, need to connect to that. So right now, I'm the only one who knows them because I'm the clinical counselor. Next year, and then naturopath, the doctor of natural medicine, and also biofeedback specialist. I'm a nutritionist.
We're gonna clone you. We're gonna clone.
So still, the clinician management has to be analog way. Have to get together, sit down, and do this.
Yes.
Next year, I am getting the neuro expert clinic director.
Oh, great.
Then I can be maybe hang out with
You can
this
maybe have a
community
break.
more with you, and then clinic director can do the job.
Yes. Yes.
For now, I'm still quite involved. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna. I think that's leading into, you obviously have, quite the footprint globally. You have people, knowing about you in Europe, but I only really learned about your clinic maybe a couple months ago when we started to research you. And I feel like just look at how many people are out this window alone. There's hundreds of thousands of millions of people in our backyard that might not know about you. There's a message, I think, to those people that have been struggling. They have been, stretched thin. They're going over here. They're going over here. They might not even know that their kid has ADHD, and they're like, and I wonder if you could maybe speak a little bit to maybe some of the hopelessness that the parent might be feeling.
Yeah.
I feel like there's maybe a message. Maybe you can go back in time and you can talk to yourself, 10, 15 years ago or something, and maybe there's a message that a mom or a dad is needing to hear right now. What would you like to share with them?
First thing is, it's relatively easy to get the idea, it's called a degree of probability. Don't look for official diagnosis if it's not required at the moment, because it's really a big jump.
Okay.
You can, if you want to see, kind of check it out.
Okay.
Then we accept insurance or funding. Okay. One session, you can have some idea. So start with the first.
Baby steps.
Baby step, because you just want to get the idea and what is the biggest concern. You can get the idea within one session.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, one session.
Wow.
And then have some, rather than you are guessing or Google, and there is a reason why there's a professional. So get the idea, strategizing. So where you want to go. Have you ever heard the idiot light? We used to be long time ago.
Tell me about that.
So my advisor always say idiot light. Idiot light, it literally is idiot light. Old car, because nowadays it's like, digital cars, right?
Right.
Old cars, whatever is going on, there's idiot light. It's so bright that you cannot miss it. You cannot miss it. It's called idiot light.
Okay.
But you don't know what it is because it's just idiot light.
Right.
But you gotta open the hood. You gotta take a look.
Right. Yes.
You wanna get the idiot. You had idiot light if you're wondering. And just get a little more information. One session there is idiot light. Yeah. So
I like that. So essentially, if the idiot light's going off, so if in other words, if you're struggling, right, if they're experiencing any of these symptoms at all, then to just come in, get checked out.
You can
one
have some
session.
idea. Yeah.
That is so helpful, and to know that the person doesn't need a diagnosis to get this treatment is probably incredibly relieving to know, because it is a nightmare to get that necessarily.
Sorry, I actually need to 1 to 2 sessions.
Well,
I don't want to
just
promise because
clarify.
we actually need to get some history and then assessment.
Yes.
2 sessions, you can get some idea.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, don't quote Dr. O here
1 session,
necessarily,
2
but
sessions. Yeah.
1 to 2 sessions. 2 sessions you're going to get, which is by the way half of what is typically in literature out there. Typically, about 4 sessions of what we tell our clients to really get a sense if there's progress and this is useful.
Yeah.
And I think probably within the very first session you're going to get some information as to, do I like this place, do I like my technicians, I think that's part of getting acclimatized, and then you're going to start to see some progress, I think is really, really terrific. Mm-hmm. We've talked a lot about the ADHD client. But in our pre-interview, we talked a little bit about the support system as well. So, there's the ADHD person, whoever that individual is going to be, and they might have a sibling or something, or 2 siblings that have ADHD. But then there's the parents, and then there's the uncles, and then maybe there's a sibling who doesn't have ADHD or autism, and they're not on the spectrum, but they're also struggling. I'm curious as to how you can imagine the collaboration with other clinics outside of ADHD Breakthrough. How can you see that as maybe helping each other?
As I said, first of all, we see ADHD like symptoms. So it doesn't need to be fully diagnosed because symptoms are painful, so that's what we do. How we collaborate with clinic is we have a very narrow focus. Right. We really don't do anything other than ADHD and autism. Right. So sometimes we have a client, but our counselors, they can evaluate. If there is a need, we refer to like the couple counseling. We don't do couple counseling.
Right.
Then we recommend, generally, those are the kind of a service, it's best to serve in person. Okay. So if I know your expertise, anything but ADHD and autism, those are really good collaboration.
That's really good to know. Yeah.
And we don't have no aspiration to expand beyond ADHD and autism, because the more we do, the more we realize how large, how big this is to take a look. So to become has a expertise. So any other condition but ADHD autism, we are really willing to collaborate. So if we know that Richmond and Surrey or anywhere, then we can have some directory, and then we can actually give out to our client. We
don't pretend that we are the experts on ADHD. That's you. And there are some things that we can do, but obviously, we don't have nutritionists, we don't have the neurofeedback, and so I'm so happy that we're connected and that we can refer our clients back and forth. I think that's really, really helpful.
Speaking of that, even for many counselors can effectively help sensory motor often, and also the psychology aspect. But then the counselor will see the limit of the improvement. Yep. That is a point to probably refer them to us for the hardware examination.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
But then a counselor are pretty effective with the arena. And then we can help with the brain hardware, while the counselor can continue working on the cognitive functions, which is planning and executive function and communication.
Gotcha.
So that is where we can still collaborate if they still help the ADHD as a counselor without the machines, because we have the machines.
Yes. Over the next few years, let's say, what's your vision for ADHD Breakthrough's future?
I have 2 goals, or 1 dream and 1 goal. My practice-wise, I will continue recruiting and training top experts from the world and clinicians, so that we can help. About 70% of our clients are international clients. This is a particular method, so that clients and the parents can understand that where this pain is coming from, what is the quickest way to get to the point. Second is more of my dream that once I can free up my time, then I want to do free workshops or pro bono parent, because relatively It's not that difficult to have some key core skills for you to look for and help your children. You cannot be as effective as the clinicians. I cannot say that. But there are only so many things because ADHD is a little predictable in the big issues.
Right.
If you have a one skill per item and get the drill,
Yeah.
you can make a lot of improvement. I already tried it for about 5 pro bono 9-day workshops.
Okay.
That's what I want to do for the parents.
that'd be so helpful.
The second is teachers.
Yes. Oh, yes,
Teachers.
please. Yes.
Teachers, school teachers. By the way, we work with school and the teachers.
Oh, great.
So how to help teachers?
That's huge.
It has to be parents, teachers. I know that your attention span is very small because the life is extremely overwhelming.
Yes.
So I'm in the process of making a very, very streamlined, very, very simple, very little to have a learning curve and apply immediately after that 1 hour learning.
Oh, I love
I need
that.
to have that session, and I want to do that with teachers. That's my
Oh.
pro bono work.
Oh, so great.
Practice is that, and that's my dream. And education, I'm really interested in education, so that is my 2 goals.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So these are what we call true or myth. Okay,
Okay.
so like a lightning round kind of thing. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question, and you just tell me true or myth.
Okay.
Okay,
True.
you ready?
Okay.
Okay, ADHD is caused by bad parenting. True or myth?
Myth.
Myth. Kids
Yeah.
eventually grow out of ADHD. True or myth?
Genuine ADHD, no.
Yeah.
Myth.
Neurofeedback is just pseudoscience. True or myth?
Myth. Thousands, tens of thousands of the data. The data is there. Okay.
You're passionate about that one. I
Myth,
can
myth,
tell.
myth, yeah.
Okay. True or myth? A child with ADHD or autism can't succeed in traditional school settings. True or myth?
They can. They can.
They can't
They
succeed.
they can succeed. Autism probably need a lot of support. ADHD, they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a spectrum, right?
Spectrum,
So
of course.
They can.
Yeah.
This extreme probably cannot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
degree.
Good to know. Okay. Last question. True or myth? Nutrition has no real impact on ADHD symptoms.
New York. Please allow me to tell this. In New York, one of the largest data, the research, they studied for 6 weeks for ADHD, not diagnosed, but extremely high hyperactivity children, about 600. 6 weeks. They just got the sugar off.
Wow.
6 weeks, just sugar off.
Yeah.
One of the largest research in New York. Within 6 weeks, they're about 50% improvement in attention and hyperactivity and mood.
Sure.
And their communication, they were listening better because they're in a better mood.
Yeah.
Just sugar, nothing else.
Wow.
It's a complete myth. Nutrition has a huge effect. Audience, sugar.
Sugar. Yes.
Digital and sugar. So 2 things. If you can remember these 2 things, then you are getting a lot out of this talk.
Early interventions really important. So the sooner that you can get your kid in here, the better. And sugar, if you can remove that, and if you can kind of limit the screen time use, then that would be really, really, really helpful. It's a pleasure to have you. And if obviously we'll put your links to your website up here on the show notes in the bottom, and if anybody has questions or comments that they're curious about, if they put a comment on the show, is it okay if I reach out or tag you and you can answer that for them?
Yes, please. I will reply. And also, we have a family support coordinator. You can also book an appointment for free and get some
Amazing.
idea.
Dr. Oh, thank you so much for being on the show. I want to shake your hand. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, and we'll be in touch, and maybe we can do something in the future.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you so much.